morning, everyone. This is Matt Smith, and I'm going to introduce Forrester's Smart UL product to you. I'm going to talk about several different things in this product call. Number one is going to be going over a little bit about Forrester's. I'm going to talk to you about their underwriting. Also going to talk to you about like the ideal age to write this type of policy. And I'll go over like some quick sales tips as well. So Forrester's Financial is been in business for over 140 years, and they're an A-rated company. They're based out of Toronto, Canada, as well as Buffalo, New York, here in the U.S. They're a not-for-profit company, which means they do not pay income tax. So a lot of the members get free benefits inside of the policy. So you just need to be aware of their fraternal benefits that they have. They have several different things that come on their base policy that they charge no additional premium for, like terminal illness, competitive scholarships, orphan benefits, community grants, as well as like some volunteer scenarios across the country for activity for community, as well as like everyday money and legal link, which is invaluable as far as what consumers can do to process free will, to access some basic consumer counseling for debt, etc., budget. Pretty effective tools to build value inside of the policy. As far as the Smart UL, it's not tracking with the stock market. It's a fixed universal life product with a 2% minimum floor, and the current interest rate, I believe, is right at 5.4%, how it's performing. What I was told is that interest rate is more dictated off of the health of Forrester's overall business, but since the product's really been out, it's hovered between 5.2 and about 5.9%. So I haven't seen much fluctuation over the last decade or so that I've seen this product out. Very popular product. I know a lot of producers that use it, and I think the ideal demographic for Family First Life for this product is ages 60 to 75 on the non-medical side. And the reason I say that is you can still do the cashback, HMS 125 product up to age 60. But if your clients are looking for like a simplified issue, non-medical product that doesn't allow any exam, this would be a good go-to as far as a solid UL product that can build up a significant amount of cash value. It can be used for tax-free purposes as long as the policy's on the book. They can take loans out tax-free. It would deduct from the death benefit. You also have level death benefits as well as increasing death benefits. As far as issue ages and whatnot, like I said, 0 to age 75, you can issue the policies. These policies do go to 121 years old if they're, done properly. I think if you're doing a level premium, here's a couple things you need to know. The minimum premium is only going to last 10 years. So you would want to quote at least the modal premium or design the policy to go to age 100, in my opinion, so you're not leaving your clients out to dry. On universal life products, I think it's important for you to understand that the cost of insurance actually goes up every year. So whatever the cash value is inside the policy, if you're overfunding it slightly to keep the policy in force, what happens is that cash value that's left inside the policy is meant to go towards the premium, so the premiums don't get pushed up and increased on your clients. So what you really want to do is download their illustration software. You can download it on your computer. They do have mobile quoting as well. You can even call their sales support team at 866-466 7166, option number 1, and they could help you through some sales ideas or solutions for the Smart UL. The one thing I would say is their sales desk has been pretty good, and they have probably what I would consider the best underwriting guide in the marketplace, because they actually go over, they have a prescription list, so you can get used to what prescriptions would be a knockout on applications. So take some time if you're a new producer late at night, non-income producing activity, but take a look at their underwriting guide. I think it's maybe 26 pages long. It's pretty simple, but towards the back, I believe, is where you can find the knockout meds, and then you can get familiar, because really every company is very similar, and you'll know that someone with a certain medication would not be eligible for the product. Their build chart is very flexible. Just to give you an idea, like if you're 5'7" for a female or male, you could be 265 pounds, 5'10", 292, 6 foot, 307, 6'3", 336. So their build chart is something you always want to pay attention to in regards to when you're writing simplified issue products. Can't be a pound over those numbers to get you qualified. As far as their face amounts and eligibility wise, if you're looking for $400,000 non-medical, you got to be ages 18 to 55. If you're looking for more than that, you'd have to do fully underwritten products. So I'd recommend you stick with these numbers. On their non-medical side, from age 56 to age 75, 150,000 is the most they could do. So same with 0 to basically age 15, 150,000. So if you're looking for these options, I again believe the sweet area for this product is age 60 to 75. Is a great idea. A couple other underwriting tips that I can give you is they will give you, and you can be an oral diabetic, and you can be diagnosed at age 30 and beyond with diabetes. Their H1AC, actually they will accept up to an 8.0 for their H1C, which is pretty H1AC. So it's pretty incredible. A lot of carriers only like a 7. Generally speaking, I think they like to see a 7, just so you know. But they do accept oral diabetics diagnosed at age 30 and above, as long as their H1AC is 8 or below. And they don't have any new requirements for build or anything like that. They actually will do a insulin diabetic, but you can't be more than 5 years on the insulin. So if they use insulin more than 5 years, you have to go fully underwritten. So that's pretty strong, though, because there's a lot of clients in those 60 to age 75 that maybe are just getting on insulin, been on insulin for 3 years, that would be eligible for a non-medical product. That's a very strong scenario, because most carriers do not do non-medical products for insulin diabetics. So that's extremely important. Pain meds, let's go over that too. Any more than 2 pain meds, you would have to do fully underwritten. So like gabapentin or oxycodone would be a decline for non-medical, because they're concerned with neuropathy with diabetes, for example. If you have arthritis, they're good as long as they don't have any oxycodone or atenolol or codeine as far as for pain, or they're not doing any injections for arthritis. That's important to understand. Usually they're looking for mild rheumatoid arthritis or the osteoarthritis. So those are the 2 things they would accept. This is another great one. They will accept up to 4 medications for high blood pressure. So usually there's some carriers out there that don't like that many blood pressure meds. They will accept up to 4 related blood pressure medications. So I think pretty liberal underwriting for the most part. They do have a instant decision too. So when you do your e-application, you can get an instant decision on the spot. I haven't seen a lot of them just fly through, just because of the age that I'm primarily rooting for, obviously writing for. Obviously, if you send in some healthy people, they'll get approved right on the spot. So they do a prescription check after the application is signed, and extremely important as well. One thing I would mention, and this is important for the sale of the product as well as you as a personal producer, I'd really recommend that you download their software or at least have internet access availability to be able to pull that up in a house. Because if you don't, this illustration, it illustrates so well just based off of like a modal premium. It's really, really easy to sell. One of the things I do like about the product is you do get the accelerated death benefit riders included for free. So what that basically means is if someone's chronically ill, which basically would mean they can't perform 2 out of 6 daily living activities, it basically requires like a supervision from another person to protect their safety. They would be eligible in any 12-month period, 24% of the death benefit. That's a pretty substantial amount of cash for a chronic illness policy compared to the marketplace. So 24% in 1 year if they can't perform 2 out of 6 daily living activities. Here's where it starts to even get better. They have the critical illness as far as on there for free as well, and that is life-threatening cancer. That is like strokes, aneurysms, end-stage renal failure, major organ failure, ALS, or major, heart issues. So the nice thing about this is they will advance 95% of the death benefit when someone has a critical illness. And then terminal illness, which is, an illness which, you have 12 months or less to live, you've been diagnosed by a doctor or physician, they will do 95% as well. So those are free riders that come with the policy that really will help you drive up the value. As far as the value, what I would say is if you're going to present this to clients, it's great in a lot of terms. One of the things I would say is on the illustration point, about usually when you're dealing with that 60 to 75 client, I would say as a rule of thumb, to play it safe, about half of, if you've got a $200 a month premium, you're probably collecting about $1,200 a year in cash value on the non-guaranteed illustrative side. So you can really sell not only the death benefit being a permanent one if designed correctly, but you can also really design something that can build up a healthy amount of cash inside the policy, especially for like a fixed UL product. So a lot of times when I sit down with clients, you absolutely have to run their software in front of the client because they'll really get the sale. But when you're going in front of the client and you can show them that here's a $100,000 death benefit, here's what your premium would be, here's what the cash value be, and then you can build up a scenario where, hey, if you're 10 years into this policy, you can borrow $18,000. That's very unique in the marketplace compared to all the different ULs that you might find in the house. One thing that's interesting as you do this more and more, a lot of people have a lot of ULs. I think the one common thread I see with people and ULs is they really have very little cash value. So this is a product that is extremely important that the people that we generally meet and deal with are people that cannot afford to make a poor financial decision. They don't have a ton of money, in my opinion. This is the demographic that I've been seeing for a decade of me selling this product. So the reason why I love selling the Smart UL is because of the cash value and because they can actually borrow it. And they have very competitive interest rates. I believe it's 4% in the first 7 years, and then 2% after that if you borrow the cash. So that's a very competitive rate. So you think about that. If you're earning 5.4% and it's only costing you 4 to borrow, you're actually making money on your cash inside the policy too. So there's that's a very effective way to create an arbitrage as well. So if you really wanted to get creative, you could do an increasing death benefit, by the way, and an increasing death benefit would mean that not only would they get the beginning face amount if they died, they'd get all the cash value as well. So a level death benefit, they just get the death benefit only, not the cash inside the policy, or an increasing policy. Generally, if you're trying to overfund any sort of UL product, that's how you can develop a little more tax-free retirement strategy. And I have plenty of happy clients that have overfunded these policies and collected a good amount of cash and are going to use it for those tax-free purposes as well down the road. So when you're sitting with those clients and they, don't have a ton of money, it's your job to paint a picture as far as what their money would look like down the road and go over different scenarios where, let's say you're writing it on just the bread earner. Let's say that you've got a huge bread earner in the house. Some interesting stats from convention were, 75% of women, when their spouses pass away, are left into poverty. I mean, that was Tiffany's presentation at the annuity workshop, which was incredible. So that's really an eye-opening stat to know that, a lot of times these spouses are going to be left with very little money. Well, the great thing about a UL, if you're writing it on both of them or one of them, I'll cover kind of both scenarios, is that cash value could be used for tax-free retirement purposes. If they don't pay it back, it will deduct from the death benefit as well. And you've got to pay attention to a UL and how it's funded and everything else. But long story short is, if they don't have a lot of cash, what a great way to dip into their account. So let's say I'll use it this way. The husband dies and the wife has a policy as well. Well, she could get the death benefit from the husband. She could always also tap into her cash value inside the policy. The other way that I like selling this product, if you're with people with this extremely fixed income, would be, if you just write it on one client and it's the bread earner, they say, we'd really like to have two policies, but we can't afford it. Well, again, there's where the cash value, you could paint a picture down the road, as long as he or she doesn't die early, that at least they'd have, $10,000 inside the policy for final expenses or something that comes up where they wouldn't have to worry about it. And the other thing, too, is if you notice with a lot of the people that we meet with in America, 76% of Americans live paycheck to paycheck. Many of them have, over half of them don't even have 6 months worth of savings in the bank. So this allows them to force them into good financial decisions, is basically what I say. And I'm very honest with clients. I'll tell them, listen, you can't afford to make a financial decision. You're at the point in your life where you're not able to save. You've proved that, okay? And you can't make a financial mistake at this point. Well, here's what this is going to allow you to do. It's going to give you the power of life insurance, where you're going to have a nice permanent death benefit available to you whenever you die, as long as we fund this correctly. And then also, when you need some cash, it's going to be there for you down the road, because you've shown that you're unable to consistently do that as well. So what a great tool for you to use it. Now, when can we use these tools? Let's say you're meeting with a client and they have a term product. It's a great time to show them a permanent product. So always go apples versus oranges when you're sitting with a client and you're trying to build value and replace a product. Make sure it's something different and then you're improving their circumstances. So always go apples versus oranges with a product like this. This would be one that you could show and definitely replace with another product. If somebody's got term, I'd show them this product. This would be a great product to use. And then also, depending on types of products, you look at doing even 1035 exchanges. 1035 exchanges are just simply the cash value inside of a life insurance policy. So if there's another permanent policy, you have to understand the policy. Those are a little bit more, I say complicated, but a little more complicated. You need to know what you're replacing, make sure you're putting them in a better position. But a lot of times, maybe they have small whole life policies. They're eligible to put it into a bigger face amount. You could utilize this product and do a 1035 exchange and roll them into this product as well. So there's plenty of ways for you to create some value and really go from there. One of the best selling points too, because they are the fraternal company, is making sure that they could get a free will through the free legal counsel inside of that. So that's a wonderful selling points as well. So when I sit down with clients, a lot of times I make sure they understand those living benefits. I really start to paint a picture with the cash value inside the policy and how it's so important, and get them to agree that they aren't in a financial position. I just met a client just a few days ago, and they had $20,000 in their 401k. He was 63. He said he was going to retire, and he had no savings, just refinanced his house. And I'm like, listen, number one, you have to have this because you're not in a financial position. They had a mortgage, so that they weren't in a financial position to really say no to it. They need to put away for money for later, and they agreed on that. So I made sure that they agreed that they needed life insurance. They agreed that they needed to put money away. So what a great way for them to have a product that works completely for everything that they're looking for. And we went from, you know what, I wasn't going to do anything to, you know what, we're going to get you qualified right on the spot. And the nice thing is the client got qualified, had sleep apnea, gout, blood pressure, and cholesterol went through. It was not an issue, and a decent bill, like 510, 270. So like a perfect simplified issue, non-medical type policy that could be placed easily and done within about 3 days. So and they pay daily pay, get you paid quickly, which is awesome as well. Lastly, I would just say, when you're sitting down with your client, just understand you need to sell 5 things in every single household. And if you don't do all 5, you're not going to get the business. And that's the client needs to believe that they need to believe in you. They need to believe in your product and the company. So we've explained the product and the company. We showed them the illustration. We explained who Forrester's is. We talked about them being A-rated, having $41 billion, been in business for 140 years. They have a great track record of paying their death claims. All we need is a death certificate, and this is going to come a tax-free check to you, John and Mary, those types of things. We also need to make sure they're comfortable with so I said the product, the company, as well as the solution. So the solution you're providing, the solution is more of what the product's going to do for them. So the overall, whether it's the cash value, the will, or the death benefit, the tax-free savings, all the different variables, you going over living benefits. So as you do that, the value drives up so significantly where you're checking off boxes. So then you do financial inventory, right? And you make sure that it makes financial sense for them, right? You ask if they have credit cards. Another great way to find premium in a house is I had a client that had $20,000 in credit cards. They were paying $500 a month or so for it. And I said, hey, just go to nerdwallet.com, do a 0% balance transfer for 18 months, 24 months, somewhere in there. Maybe pay $100 less because a lot of times you're going to now be knocking down the principal of your card. So you'll be, 0% for 18 or 24 months. At least you know that you can get somewhere with your card. So maybe you pay $400 a month on your credit cards instead of $500, and you put an extra $100 over here. That's how you start to find premium in the house. Maybe they're paying extra on the mortgage. And you say, okay, I don't want you to pay extra on the mortgage because you don't have a lot in the bank. The worst place you could have money is in your mortgage when you die. You need to make sure to have a tax-free death benefit on the side that is building cash value. And oh, by the way, I can get you 5.4% where your current mortgage is 4.75. So it wouldn't make financial sense to even pay that off anyways, because after your tax write-offs and everything, your effective rate is more like 3.75. So we can create an arbitrage on your money where you can earn money safely, and it would be a better scenario for the client. So that's those financial inventory. And then the last thing is obviously you need to make sure and connect with them emotionally. So you can use your own stories yourself, but there's several different things. I was talking to a producer yesterday about the same thing, but storytelling is what is going to make them get emotional. Emotional is going to get them into the buying mode. And then what they do is they check their logic, which will make financial sense because you did the financial inventory. And then they believe in you. They believe in the product and the solution. They believe in the company because you've explained everything to them. And if you have all 5 things in a house, you will get the sale every single time. The problem is if you miss one of those, you won't get the sale. So that's extremely important when you're coming to the home stretch with any client, with any scenario, with any product, make sure that you have all 5 things, and make sure that you build some value in your storytelling. If you don't have a story about life insurance and what it does, and life insurance for people, you should have 2 stories. You should have stories about life insurance, and you could almost go 3. I'll go with 3. You should have a story, and you can find them throughout your groups or in your own personal life. You could tell a story about someone that didn't have life insurance. You can tell a story about someone that did have life insurance. You could tell someone that had life insurance that actually saved their house through those living benefits, and that's extremely important, and we all know how fragile life is. So learn how to start selling these things to drive up the value. I think the Forester Smart UL is one of the easiest products to sell due to all those factors that we just talked about. So I hope that helps as far as what to look for in the call. I would tell you, make sure to use their sales desk, because they have plenty of other things that I may have missed potentially, but at least you got the overall underwriting guideline, overall scenario where you can start placing business, and really that demographic, look at that 60 to 75, because that's the wheelhouse where we can't do cash back policies, but we can get them some cash value, and that's extremely beneficial. So if you have any questions, reach out, and appreciate you guys' time, and I'll talk to you soon. Thank you. Bye.